Sometimes before we make it, we have to break it first. Hi, this is Paul Edgewater, CMO of Busy Bee Promotions, and this is sales tip number 4, Proxemics. Proxemics is a study that was done in the early 60s by Edward T. Hall, and in 1963 he coined the term proxemics, and it's based on the word proximity. And it was a study based on how people communicate differently depending on how far apart we are from one another and who should be at certain distances from us in order for us to feel comfortable. To illustrate the point, I'd like you to picture a dartboard, and you are the bullseye. So you're looking down at the top of your head in the middle of this bullseye, okay? In that first zone, you're going to find yourself. And there are 4 basic zones in Proxemics. That bullseye is what we call the intimate zone. That's from your body out to about 18 inches. This is where we would feel comfortable with our spouse, our loved one, people that we care deeply about and love. We can hug these people. We feel good and comfortable with them to be in that intimate zone, 18 inches to touching our body. Right outside of that, we have the personal space. That's going to be from 18 inches to about 4 feet. We find our good friends there, people we know, people we're familiar with, say coworkers that we work with all the time. We're okay with them being that distance from us because we know them and we feel comfortable with them, and it's also a good conversational distance for people. All right. Outside of that zone, we have the social space. That's going to be 4 feet to 10 feet out. A good example would be, say you're at a networking event, or say you're working at a bigger company and you don't know everybody intimately because they might work in a different department, but you recognize their face. And we're okay with those people being 4 to 10 feet away from us. We feel comfortable. That's the way human beings are wired. Outside of this space is what we call public space. And this is going to be from 10 feet out. This is where we want to have our perfect strangers. We don't want people we don't know really getting any closer than that. A good example, might be silly, is imagine if you got onto a bus and for whatever reason you were the only person on that bus and you decide you're going to sit in the back. And then the bus pulls away from the station, goes to another stop, and somebody else gets on the bus. You don't know this person, and they sit in the front of the bus. All is well in the world. We don't know this person. They haven't invaded our space. But what if that person walked all the way to the back of the bus and sat down right next to you with all those other empty seats? You'd think they're crazy. And they probably would be, because people aren't wired like that. We have a certain set of rules when it comes to proximity where we feel safe, comfortable, threatened, and it all depends on who is in what space. So again, picture that bullseye. You are that bullseye. And we have rules for how far apart people should be from us. What does this have to do with in-store demos? A whole lot, actually. Now, when you're in an in-store demo, obviously when somebody comes and tries a sample, you're not going to hug them and say you love them. You don't want them in that intimate space. You want them in the personal space. Now, their social space or strangers, okay, they're far away from us because they don't know us. So how do we bring these people into this personal space where we feel comfortable? Well, the demo environment offers us a tool, and that's the table. That table is 18 to 24 inches deep. Perfect distance from us to bring the person, that stranger, if you will, into our personal space. We got that table, gives us that little extra, cushion, if you will, that we might not have in other situations. But that table is a barrier. It's also where we are showing what we're demoing. It's a perfect situation. Get somebody who's a stranger into that personal space. Now, normally that's not too hard to do. Sometimes you're going to be at a store where there's a whole bunch of people walking by that social space 4 to 10 feet away from you. Say, hey, come over here. I got something for you. Try this. Bring them in. And again, all is well in the world. They'll come into this personal space. You make friends with them. Again, that's why we're in the stores, right? Make friends for our brands. And we've made a friend because they're in that personal space. They walk away. They've either bought something or they didn't, but they feel like they got to know somebody at the brand. Now, the challenge is the public space. Some stores, especially in this time of year when it's cold, aren't going to be as full of people as when the weather's nice. And you'll find that people will communicate differently when they're in that public space versus social and personal. Here's the example I like to give. If somebody's walking by 4 to 10 feet away, social space, you can say to them, hey, come over here, I got something for you, and they'll try to sample because they can hear your voice, all right? Now, if they're in that public space, you don't want to yell across the store, all right? Because that's going to make somebody feel uncomfortable. So you want to get their attention, but you don't want to have that whole conversation at 10 feet away. You want to bring them in close. So here's the best way to do this. We've talked about on other sales tips how people will say no as a conditioned response. If you haven't seen that, check out our other sales tips. People will say no as a conditioned response. It's a defense mechanism. And it's true in that public space as well. If we say, hey, come over here, I'd like you to try a sample, they can now gesture with their body, no, thank you, or not right now, I'm in a hurry. They can make that no gesture with their body. The way you take that ability away from somebody is by making eye contact and then breaking eye contact. Here's how it works. Public distance, 10 feet away. Hey, come over here, I got something for you. Immediately break eye contact, look down at your table and start preparing a sample. Why does this work? If you don't break eye contact with that person who's a stranger and they're in that public space, they're going to see that you're looking at them. They're going to say no thank you with their body and keep walking. You've given them that option. It's a closed-ended physical question, if you will, command that can be broken because they know you see them. If, on the other hand, you look at them, hey, I got something for you, come over here, and look down at the table and start preparing the sample, two things have happened. One, you've taken that tool away from them to say no with their body or gesticulations of some kind. Number two, what happens? Well, you'd think, well, they'll just keep walking because, they figure I'm not paying attention and they're just going to keep walking. But again, people aren't wired that way. Most people are good people. And when they see you make eye contact, smile, and then look down at the table and start preparing a sample, now they feel obligated to walk up to the table and try what you're sampling. Voila, they are now in your personal space. People don't want to let you down. They don't want to see you pour a sample or cut a block of cheese or open up a package, and they're not just going to want to walk away from you. They're going to feel like, oh man, that would be a really bad thing to do. This person seems nice. Yes, I'm in a hurry. Yes, I didn't really want to try this out, but now they're doing something for me. I'm going to have to try it. We want people in that personal space. We are demoing to strangers. We need to bring them in to that personal space, use that table as a safety net, if you will, so nobody feels violated or that their space is being invaded. But now you have the ability to make friends with the person. And that was sales tip number 4, Proxemics. You gotta break it before you make it. Hey, I want to thank you for spending time with me today. If you'd like more information on my training, shoot me an email, paul@busybeepromotions.com. And in the meantime, have a great day and happy selling. Thank you so much.